Alright, so Record of Ragnarok chapter 106 and Apocalypse of the Gods chapter number 15. We're going to preview both chapters for this month, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and predictions on what I think is going to happen. Before that though, make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Also drop a like on this video so you're more likely to be recommended to the channel in the future, so you keep seeing content like this. Shout out to the members as always. Thanks for supporting the channel. Now let's get into it. Let's start with Apocalypse of the Gods. Extremely hyped chapter. If you guys missed my video on it, check it out. This is a chapter you don't want to miss for sure. It was great. We're going into the final moments of this fight. It explicitly says at the end of the chapter, with an editorial note at the end, the final clash, right? When it shows us the name Vajra Astra, which is of course the name of Indra's new technique that we have yet to see. So we know that this fight is going to conclude this chapter, at least 99% sure. There was no official preview that was posted by the leakers for this, but the editorial note and the volume preview lets us know that Neza and Morgan are going to be on the cover of the next volume, so we have to start transitioning into that fight. Now, as for what's going to happen near the end of this, I saw an interesting comment here, I'll put it on the screen, where this guy was talking about how he likes the idea of Suzaku potentially winning because Suzaku has the adaptation ability and he's going to be more interesting going on into the later rounds. I actually do agree with this to some extent. I really do enjoy Indra as a character, but if you're looking at it from a purely who has more potential standpoint, it looks like it's going to be Suzaku. He's shown us the ability to adapt to his opponents and potentially overcome their abilities, right? Indra's new technique could be something crazy OP, but I feel like it'd be harder for him to continue to get stronger as this tournament goes on than it would be for Suzaku, that has this extreme innate talent to adapt to his opponent's movesets, especially when you factor in a potential plot of him watching Ku Kulin and Wukong already fight. He's already started to see through their techniques, like Ku Kulin's Gay Bulg technique. If he continues on watching throughout the tournament, this could be a storyline that they explore with him just collecting data throughout the tournament and potentially formulating counters in advance. So I do like the idea from that standpoint, although I wouldn't be mad if Indra won because he's just a straight up beast, and you could look at it as better for Shiva's portrayal and storyline, and maybe they will find a way to make Indra stronger throughout the tournament. Let me know what you guys think about that. Now moving on to the main series. We of course just finished round 11. Humanity is now officially in the lead with the score being 6-5. Ragnarok ends when one side reaches 7. It does not have to go the full duration if somebody reaches 7. So that means that if Humanity wins next round, it's over. Humanity is saved. That is probably why Hilda thinks that Odin is being pushed into a corner, as she said before this round, and she is expecting Odin to come out next. That tells me that her pick for Humanity is going to be whoever she deems to be Odin's counter. Now, a lot of people do think it's Nostradamus, and that still very well could be the case. Obviously, Nostradamus has actual ties to Odin, as Odin put him in charge of Siegfried's health. He's Siegfried's doctor somehow, some way. But we do know that Nostradamus seemingly still hasn't returned from Tartarus yet with Goal. Now, it's possible they've returned by this point, as some time has passed since we last seen them. But I wouldn't put it past the author to have Rasputin actually be the one that Hilda is thinking of to fight Odin. Seems like she thinks that Odin is the big dog, the most vile of the vile, right? It would make sense that her greatest weapon to take down Odin would be the one that may be Humanity's most sinister participant. Obviously, there's going to be some contention with Jack the Ripper, but ever since Jack the Ripper's spinoff has come out, you know, his backstory's been a little bit muddied as far as his evil tendencies goes. They frame him as more of an anti-hero whose story has been misconstrued. It's entirely possible that Rasputin comes in and can be that actual villainous human through and through. It also may not even have to be villainous. He might just be insane. So it could just be she's calling on somebody insane enough to take down Odin. And it does look like he is the guy that was in this cell, as nobody has come out of this cell yet. We've seen that Kentoki and Nostradamus are walking out free. This seems to be where Rasputin's held, and it makes all the sense if this guy has to be held in captivity until his round if he is this great threat. For all this to go down, Odin would have to basically bully Anubis out of his spot again, as he was supposed to go the past 2 rounds. But that should be pretty easy, especially if you consider how strong Odin should be. So I wouldn't have any problem with that. But I could see a scenario where Hilda thinks that Odin's going to go out there, sends out Rasputin, and Anubis still ends up going out there to fight. I think a lot of people predicted Anubis versus Rasputin from the beginning. We might be ending up getting that because it does seem like you'd probably want to put Anubis out there before Odin, considering all Odin's implications for the overarching story, where whatever happens in his round is probably going to be very impactful for what happens in Endgame. Going to Anubis at that could be seen as potentially a little bit weird, but maybe they want to give Odin a win on screen. He can tie it up at 6-6, and then whatever he sets in motion can kind of be going on in the background as the final round plays out. But do you think that Odin really wants to put everything on the line when nothing is really at stake to gain? Because if he wins, obviously it's just 6-6. I get the feeling that Odin only wants to fight if he can secure his plan. So if he goes out there and wins, he's achieved his dream, right? I think that putting Anubis out there first is the better of the two options, because either way you're gonna have to rely on Anubis to win one of these rounds. It's just like, would you rather him have to go out there and win first or win when everything's on the line? If he loses and the plan fails, well, at least Odin didn't tip his hand as to like what his actual power is, or potentially put himself in harm's way to where he may have to recover even if he does win for an extended period, where he might be tired out, where things are just going to kind of be in his way. Regardless, it's all going to hinge on Anubis, unless you think that, you know, he calls in somebody else. Now, another key aspect of all this is the Valkyries that are remaining. There's 3 Valkyries remaining, and 2 of them are Hilda and Gol. The third is one we do not know of, but you got to think about it from that lens as well. It seems likely that Gol is going to be Nostradamus Valkyrie. Also, with him being called the Joker, to me, the Joker card does not seem like the card you'd play for Odin. The Joker seems like a card that you'd play as a wild card that if everything else fails, we can throw out Nostradamus and just whatever happens, happens. And it's like maybe a potential based thing based on him and Gol. That could potentially be the final person if Hilda's plan fails. But I think that her trump card would not be the Joker. So that makes it super interesting. Like, who would Rasputin be matched up with? Would it be Hilda or the other Valkyrie? Outside the box thought, Hilda may actually be Rasputin's Valkyrie. If you look at her, you know, she's got some of that insanity within her. She's also extremely convicted in taking down Odin. She might have picked the person to take down Odin that not only is insane enough to do it, but also she can Volund with in an effective manner. Now, that would be kind of weird, because if she goes out there with Rasputin and loses, especially to Anubis, it'd almost be like, well, shit, her story's over, and she's kind of like the whole driving force for this entire plot. It's always possible that Gol takes up the mantle and has to kind of lead going forward. But I think the safest bet is probably just the third random Valkyrie that we have not seen yet. We still, of course, have the problem of there being more humans on the roster than there are gods. The only 2 gods remaining are Odin and Anubis. Yet on humanity's side, we have Nostradamus, Kentoki, and Rasputin. So, does that mean another god is going to be added? The only way that could happen, because of the rules of Ragnarok, is there had to have been a draw, so nobody gets that 7th win. It's getting more and more far-fetched, though, because there's been numerous rounds where we thought a draw may take place and it still hadn't happened yet, especially with abilities like the ones we saw from Simo. Qin Wang had an ability similar to this as well, with taking the damage that he sees. Both those characters were prime candidates to have a draw because they're basically getting hit by recoil. So I don't know if the author is going to go forth with the draw. Maybe one of the humans does get left out, especially if there is going to be a storyline post-tournament where that guy can potentially get shined. If that's the case, either Nostradamus or Kentoki could be left out because they look like they're going to have prominence within that story regardless. So it wouldn't really matter if they don't get to showcase their abilities. I think Rasputin has to showcase his abilities within the fight. So I do predict that Rasputin will be humanity's next fighter. And lastly, do you think that Loki is 100% dead? There's been people in the community that are still contending this. We've never seen a character get the crystallization effect and survive. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Theoretically, I just don't know how it would happen. I'm on board though, because I like Loki as a character and I think he has more to add to the story. So I'd enjoy it. I just don't know how likely it is. But I'll be there with you guys. Can't wait for this month's chapter. We'll be talking about all of it when the time comes. I'll see you guys then. Peace.